groups to do over about a 20-minute period is we want you to come up with the top 3 reasons, and this will be a group exercise, of how the implementation of roundabouts. What are the 3 things that matter? And I think there's going to be a lot of things out there. We've had a lot of good discussion, but we would love to have what people really think are the key points so we can keep this thing focused. So this first group right here in front, Mike.
All right, money was a common theme and recurring theme. What occurred, we have money, design, outreach, but along the outreach concept related to design, everything seems interrelated. The decision makers decide where to spend the money, and the students and professors determine what's the favored design treatment. So in terms of outreach, one of the big ideas was a scholarship or grant program for electeds, professors, and students to attend this conference. It could be through ITE or through a local design firm as a investment in future revenue, perhaps as an IRS did mention. But getting more of the decision makers involved in spreading the word through encouraging attendance to conference like this was one of the outreach types of concepts. In design, because money is a big issue and we can usually get 2 to 4 signals for one roundabout, simplifying the design of our modern roundabouts, encouraging that right sizing of them so that we don't build the 20-year design when we only need today's operation. And in the lines with the design concept, also was mentioned, which I'll stop there, is perhaps some type of certification for a modern roundabout designer that identifies and raises the bar, if you've heard that term, for those who actually do the design work.
All right, Scott.
Thank you, Scott. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Darwin Yasis with the Minnesota Department of Transportation. And when we started talking about roundabout, I think in general, we just started having a conversation. I think we've heard plenty already regarding the safety benefits and the traffic operational benefit of roundabouts. So what our conversation really gravitated towards was really the pedestrians. I think Ken has mentioned this earlier in one of the sessions. The context of roundabouts needs to be about people-centered. So it needs to be talking about people space and things like that. So it really depends on the context of the roundabout and where it's being placed. So in particular, regarding that issue, we talked about yielding to pedestrians. And I think some of you may have attended that session regarding pedestrians and the different yielding rates. Currently, right now, I think all those studies, including some of the studies done by the University of Minnesota, actually shows you a variety of results. Some have the high yielding rates, some have low yielding rates. Perfectly the same geometric components, geometric elements, but the context itself actually renders a different result. So I think that's very important in terms of the yielding rates to pedestrians. So I think towards the end we really said, you know what, we really need to do a little bit more research regarding this particular area. And then our conversation went to the fact that probably 10 years ago, when we talk about roundabouts, the issue regarding safety and traffic operations was on the top of the list. And before, we were doing a lot of speculation, so people are saying, hey, you know what, it's not safe, it's not operationally, I guess, superior to signals. But there were a lot of speculations, because we were looking at the data from, say, the UK, we're looking at the data from Australia, and people are saying, you know what, it's not going to work here in the US. Now, 10 years after, we already have enough data, and I think I'm a firm believer that some of these studies need to be data-driven. We have plenty of data. Traffic operations wise, we have plenty of examples that tells you that we have benefit in terms of traffic operations. Safety, again, we have plenty of information, and I think I shared it with some of my folks over here. In Minnesota, we have a little bit over 130 roundabouts. And right now, I just ended up reviewing some of our before and after crashes. And fatality rate alone is actually 85% reduction. Fatal, together with the serious injury crashes, it's 77%. So I think with those data, I think I get plenty of phone calls on a daily basis. People complaining about the safety. All I tell them is, you know what, these are my data, and you could take it or leave it. I don't say it that way, of course. I say it in a more pleasing manner. So I thank them a lot for sharing their concerns and that kind of thing. So, so the other one is the rural implementation of high-speed approach roundabouts. I think early guidance talks about introduction of splitter island together with the curving on the right side. But I think some of our folks here have started looking at a rural design roundabout, which is probably going to be more fitting on a rural highway. So I think that from that perspective, I think really we need to look at how drivers behave on rural highways. I was not a big proponent in the beginning because I thought, okay, roundabouts doesn't belong on high-speed highways. It should be more on the county roads and then the city streets. But we have done it in our state primarily because of some safety benefits. So rural implementation of roundabouts, that will be the next one. And then the third one, we talked about roundabouts for cold regions. We see all these treatments, pavement markings and all those, but in cold regions where it snows a lot, where does your pavement marking go? So I think it's a matter of really integrating it in terms of your maintenance program and things like that. So I think the focus should be geared towards that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Darwin.
Okay, so I'm Paul Mackey from Safe Street in Quebec City. We have an international group, Canadian-US. We have two suggestions. The first suggestion kind of latched onto the idea that we heard that engineers are not necessarily good PR people. So we said, well, it might be a good idea to launch a public relations campaign to sell roundabouts. So we said, well, what's a good selling point for the general public? Because engineers would go to more like safety concerns and operational concerns and things like that, but that might not be the best sell for the overall population. So we said maybe we should emphasize aesthetics and look at central island treatments that have gotten a lot of success, and so that we can sell it to communities and say, well, this is wow, you can have an entrance into your town that will really stimulate pride in your community. It could be an overall public relations campaign for the general public, but it also could be kind of directed especially, for example, there's the National League of Cities, and so if we could get some city officials on board, that might allow for some interesting implementation of roundabouts. So that's also we could maybe some environmental concerns or some aesthetics and environment could be good selling points. So that's the first idea. The second idea is we looked at education, and we said we're not convinced that maybe upcoming engineers are getting the training in roundabout design and analysis that they should. So we were looking at the possibility of different schools getting together. I think that this has been happening in Canada where the talent to teach the subjects is maybe not all that widespread. So the universities are getting together as an alliance so that they would share a course on roundabout design. So that would be a way to get roundabout design widespread through the university system. It could be like an intensive course or something like that. I think Eugene Russell had something organized like that out of Kansas some couple of years ago, maybe something like that. That could come back some that idea.
We teach a lot of internet courses, and I had a roundabout course on the internet.
Okay, good. Paul, was that was, I think we got 3 there. 2 or 3. Okay, good. I'm gonna skip to the front here. Sorry, Gary, I miscalled you, sorry. I was trying to mix it up.
Next study is Ross, City of Rossville, DNC. We came up with 4 actually, 4th one being a little bit of a joke, but we'll go through the 3 first. Funding, safety, and policy. Related to funding, given the fact that additional funding and roundabout specific funding is not likely in the near future, as far as right sizing and building cheaper but still safe roundabouts would be a great way to ultimately implement more of them. Second one being safety. We would like to continue to emphasize the safety benefits of them, along with quantifying the specific bike and ped safety improvements for roundabouts that are existing in the United States. And third was eliminating poorly designed roundabouts and retrofitting, as far as, and that is a little bit trickier thing to do, but as far as reaching out to the cities and counties that have not been following best practices and emphasizing the education with implementing a peer review process and leaning on other more successful agencies that have done it the right way, and not to slap their hand and tell them they haven't done a good job, but try and ramp up that education. 4th one being a little bit of a joke, but would you don't have to convince me as far as improving the implementation, as far as if we could targeted infiltration of the state DOTs that are poor adopters and not considering them, as far as getting some of these people room, getting some of these people in this room inside the state DOTs to start pushing it from that end. Woohoo! Thank you.
Thank you. I'll try to be quick and to the point here. We came up with 4 ideas. The first one being, again, a national public relations campaign, getting the public on board, teaching the public maybe some of our safety issues, really illuminating why this is an advantage. Yes, it's aesthetic, but they need to know that it's safer. So I think that was important in our group, as well as the possibility to teach about our multi-lane roundabouts and what lane you need to get into as you approach them on a national basis. I think Brian, maybe, Super Bowl commercial, maybe you could be on it, or something like that. Policy. Why are signal warrants occurring without roundabout being the number 10 warrant? Seriously, wouldn't that teach all of our engineers a little bit more about roundabouts and make them, from the bottom up, learn that what the basis of roundabouts is and why they're a viable option. So maybe a bit of a stretch, but nonetheless. And then policy. I think Virginia DOT is working on their spreadsheet to look at safety and analyze roundabouts, the ice, and the spreadsheet, I think, was very powerful in that it is going to require that roundabout to be considered, but also analyzed very quickly and easily. And I think that was a powerful opportunity there as well. Finally, interjecting our perspectives with politicians. Sending a laser point message about safety and operations and how roundabouts can achieve our goals, and we can try to roll them out better. That might be a joint meeting with the U.S. mayors and other political get-togethers. But it's interjecting with politicians and letting our voice be heard. So, yeah, good ones. Thank you.